home. Have you heard the news? It's probably been twisted to keep the general population conflicted. Better lick your finger and turn the page. Dissect the lines that made you to rage. Get out of your Monday drudgery. Turn up the volume on front page fuckery. Yeah.
Last Christmas, I gave you my heart. Find a drum beat. Very next day, you gave it away this year. To save me from tears, I'll give it to someone special. Give it to Larry Ellison, since he's buying every fucking thing. Just give it to him. Give him your soul, you know? Anyway, Merry Crimbo. This is me, Kelechi, the baby girl, aka Mother of London, and welcome to another episode of Front Page Fuckery, where we take bad news and turn it into good conversation. That's right. Happy Boxing Day, people, because that's when I'm recording this. Where did I find the energy? I don't know. Maybe it's the cordyceps. Although, did I talk about this before? Or maybe I was talking about it in my other podcast, Meet Me at the Altar, about the fact that all of these things, like these mushroom supplements that are good for us, they're making it harder and harder to get. By they, I mean the government, because apparently now turkey tail mushroom as a powder or whatever isn't readily available in the UK anymore. It's not allowed to be sold on the shelves or something. And I know that they probably are or have already, or they're going to very soon. If they touch my baby cordyceps, Downing Street is going to see me. They're prescribing Palestine action. They haven't prescribed anything yet. Let me show up if they touch my cordyceps. Reishi, lion's mane, chaga, we're going to have a problem, actually. But turkey tail has been really, really good for people who have been diagnosed with cancer. Very, very good. But obviously big pharma won't want us to have access to things that really the earth is already giving us that will heal us. Everything that we need for our healing is already provided by the earth. And here come the pharmaceutical companies to be like, no, actually, we're not going to let you have access to that. You can't use that. We've bought it now. You can't use that. What? So then they can sell it back to you in some next sort of pill form and charge you through the roof for it because it is expensive to stay alive. Staying alive. Do you understand? Anyway, I just needed to say that. You might notice, well, you won't if you're just listening, but if you're watching, you'll notice that I've got a whole new set. Yeah, baby. So I'm in a different place, but it's the same place. It's the same place to me. It's one of my same places, but it's a different space for my filming. We'll see how it goes. But I wasn't staying in that building anymore that I was in and I've been in for a few years. My God, it was horrific. I should just pop some pictures on the screen, but some of you might be eating. If you see the absolute state of the women's bathrooms and just the general building, absolute filth. Absolutely horrific. Maybe next week I'll drag them the way that they need to be dragged. I'll drag them into the new year. But right now, let's just check in with each other. Welcome to those who are just discovering me and they're just like, what the hell? Welcome back to my babies, okay? Yes, my page-turning babes, we are back for all of this. How was your Christmas? I hope it wasn't too stressful. I hope it was all right. I hope you had a good time with family. I hope you got to wear your matching pajamas, that you had a good old time. I was saying this in the members area of my website, how I think it was like at 1 a.m. Christmas morning, I just had this panic and I was just like, I didn't put up not a single bauble, not a single wreath, honey. I did not. And then I looked at my son and I just thought, no, this isn't Kelechi. No matter how much you don't want to be a part of the system, this little baba deserves to have something. So I'm on Deliveroo, like just looking for things, and I did pretty decently. And he woke up in the morning, saw the things, although he said he didn't really care about having, you know, these things. But I also think, will he be saying that to his therapist in like 30 years time that, oh yeah, so I said to my mum, don't worry, because I know she had a lot, like I knew she had a lot on her plate, so I just said, yeah, don't worry about it. But since then I'm emotionally unavailable in relationships. God forbid, God forbid. I don't care. You might be like, girl, it was just a fucking decoration. But no, I did just a little something, not too much, just a little something. But he woke up and he gave me a hug and he smiled. And I thought, you know what? That was cool. He didn't get many presents because I'm trying to get him a puppy. And suddenly, guys, I feel really sad for puppies. My brothers have told me not to feel sad, that it's actually fine, but they just get taken away from their mums. But my brothers were like, oh, they don't remember, like the mums and the puppies, they don't remember each other. But I wonder if that's a trauma response from the centuries that it's been happening to them. They just looked at me like I'm weird, but my brothers tend to look at me like I'm weird. So, yeah, I don't know. So I know that there are the ethical breeders, and then I know that there are the rescue centers as well that I could go to. But he wants a specific dog, or like a specific type of dog. So I don't know if you've got any comments or tips. This is the only time I'm asking you for advice on this specific thing. Please drop it in the comments. Help a baby girl out. So yeah, I'm doing all of that. And then I went for a run on Christmas morning, as is my custom. Like, it's my tradition. I love it. Any special occasion, you'll find me going for a run. Like, I just love it so much. And I don't think like I'm the best like distance runner. I'm built like a sprinter. So I used to sprint, you know, in my early days, 200-meter sprint and relay. So I'm a sprinter, but I've kind of got myself used to running, and it's one of the main things that keeps me out of jail, you know? So let me have my thing. So every Christmas morning, if it's possible, physically possible to do so, I go for a run before I get to the rest of my cooking, because again, I love cooking. And, you know, I've got a Range Master cooker. For some of you, that will mean absolutely sweet fuck all. But it's got a double oven, and I love that. I've had it for 10 years now, that cooker. Proper love of my life. I got it because the way that I love cooking, I like to have my double oven, this, that. Now, I don't know. My feelings about it have changed over the years. And the one day that I definitely look forward to having it to hand is Christmas Day, because then I can, you know, bake all of the things at the same time, do this, do that, do this. But to be perfectly honest, this year I only used the one oven of the two. To be like, I didn't need two. I don't know. And I've been so busy, I don't cook at the same rate as I have done in previous years. In fact, if you see me baking, that is usually a sign that I'm stressing about something, like something's either pissed me off or I'm procrastinating because I've got a writing deadline and I'm trying to get my thoughts in order. I will bake. That's my thing. So anyway, went for a run on Christmas Day. It was very, very cute. But why are so many of you on the street? Why are you on the street? I thought you were meant to be with your families. I thought you were meant to be with your families. You are on the street on Lime bikes, walking with your feet on the pavement, just being happy in my way. I'm so glad for you that you're enjoying the crisp London air. But fuck. Anyway. That's the antisocial part of me, in case you don't know. But it was, I guess, nice to see all of you out and about doing whatever you were doing. Yeah, I really enjoyed my run. I feel like there must be a difference between people who like to, you know, there are the people who wear tracksuit, jumper, scarf, hat, glove to go run. I'm not really that kind of person. It has to be very, very freaking cold for me to wear layers. I will always have my legs out. And as they say, a hoe never gets cold. That's from one of my favorite philosophers, Cardi B. And I think they've done scientific research into that actually, but I just don't really get that cold in my legs. I mean, times are changing. I'm going to be 40 in a bit, and my knees, I'm starting to feel something. I'm starting to feel something. So I better get back to like yoga and all of them things there. But yeah, I wore my shorts out, but I wore a long sleeve top because obviously I'm not crazy. But then I wanted to make a video. By the time it was, I was heading home, I was freezing actually. But yeah, I just can't do, like, I don't like clothes on my skin, and I definitely don't like clothes on my skin that are meant to be like keeping me warm, because I get hot very quickly, and then eventually I'm just wanting to off all of my clot, I just want to off my clot. So yeah, that was cute. Went home. I've been obsessing about making lobster mac and cheese, and I did, because I ordered my lobster meat ahead of time, like just a couple of days ahead. So got the lobster meat, made a beautiful mac and cheese. I got all of these messages telling me how wonderful it was. Thanks so much. Made other bits, quite a few other bits. For those who know, I made gizdodo. My other brother said that banged severely, and he took some to go. It's just my time. I really shine in the kitchen. I think I would excel at tradwife content. If I lacked integrity, I don't think you understand how I would be making bank. Like, I would be, what, are you crazy? The techers that I possess in the kitchen, maybe I belong there. Maybe I didn't treat you. Should I be singing a pedo song? I don't know. But Elvis pisses me off, man, because there are so many bangers. Anyway, that's enough of that. I just wanted to say to you all, Merry Christmas to those who celebrate, a time for romanticizing a white man coming down your chimney, breaking and entering. Why don't we celebrate more instances? But at least he's not breaking and entering to steal. I mean, he has some milk and cookies, as you'd like to say. But I guess he leaves you something, presents that his people, his elves, who are in that sweatshop in the North Pole, have made. That's how the myth goes in my head anyway. But really, it's a time to celebrate the birth of Christ, the Christ that so many of you will not post about, his birthplace being bombed to fuck, because you don't actually worship Jesus Christ. You just worship power and proximity to whiteness. Because if you worshipped Christ, really worshipped Christ, really cared about what happened and what his apparent, the teachings that he told this one and that one, you'd be even more pissed off about what's happening to Palestine. But let me not tell you what to do, child. Listen to your pastor, who's probably sleeping with half of the congregation. Anyway, joy to the world in all its fuckery. Let me not get into it, because I was going to talk about King Charles's speech, his Christmas Day speech, or whatever, his Christmas whatever message, but we'll get to that in a bit. I think we got an early Christmas present in the fact that Andrew Tate and Jake Paul both got thumped in the head numerous times last weekend. What a sight. What a joy to behold. Specifically Andrew Tate, specifically that guy. Because I don't know how men in their right mind, like, I'm always shocked when I'm talking to a guy, just like, that I know from around professionally or whatever. And then out of nowhere, he'll be like, yeah, because that guy who's like a billionaire. No, he's not. I think the legend of Andrew Tate is bigger than Andrew Tate. I think he's the Beyonce of men, not in a way to insult Beyonce. Do you get what I mean? Like, in terms of like the myth, the legend is bigger than the person. Like Beyonce, in Beyonce's defense, Beyonce's got talent for days. Like, iconic. Not so much Tate, but the point I'm trying to make is they just say random shit. They're like, yeah, that millionaire, that billionaire. No. Oh, yeah, he said such and such. Why are you quoting Andrew Tate? And then he's topless, he's at the gym. What the fuck is up with his accent? Like, how do you guys take him seriously? He sounds like a farmer, like a drunk farmer. Like, I don't, no disrespect to farmers. Like, you do your job. Like, you work those sheeps, honey, or sheep. But I can't take him seriously. Like, his accent's so odd to me. He sounds like he's from the West Country. Not that I don't, it sounds like I'm insulting so many people. So many people are catching strays, but I just don't. What is the appeal? What is the appeal of this guy? And then now that you've seen him get tumped up, you're now like, yeah, but a real man can take hits and bounce back. I want him to then, let's test his bouncing back ability. I want him to jump off a cliff. No ropes, no nothing. No string holding him, no harness, nothing. If he can bounce back so well, let him jump off a cliff. Let's see what happens. Yeah? The ability of, it's just funny how the goalpost shifts whenever it's these white guys, like the Jake Paul, the Charlie Kirk, the Andrew Tate. It's like, no, you don't understand the virtue that there is. And shut up, you fucking arse lickers. That's all you do. You submissive bitches. By bitches, I mean men. Like, you are socialized to be so submissive. You're always looking for another man to tell you what to do. And that's why you love religion so much. So Sky Daddy can tell you what to do. You don't follow half the shit. You go and rebel and you do things behind the scenes. But, oh, yeah. But religion is perfect. I'm not. Try. And then try again. As another philosopher once said, if at first you don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again. You can dust it off and try again. Ooh. You get it? I mean, if you jump off a cliff, I don't know how much you'll be able to dust off and try again, but miracles happen. Not for him, I hope. Anyway, I was looking at the commentary around that. And then I know we don't like Dave Chappelle. Or do we? I don't know. But I got bored after all my cooking yesterday when everyone had left and it was time for me to finally eat. And I started watching his new stand-up. And I don't find him likable. Like, I don't think I like Dave Chappelle. But it was interesting for him to talk about that. Is it Jack Johnson, the boxer? The black boxer. It was interesting to hear that and to hear where the term the Great White Hope came from and how white people were so stressed that there was this black boxer that had beat this other guy that saw himself as world champion. And they were like, no, we need a white guy to fight him and show him and put him in his place. But that white guy, is it Jim Jeffries, got tumped up as well? Or is it Tim Jeffries? I don't know. I was trying to follow. But eventually I didn't end up watching the whole thing because I was like, it's not, my brain is hurting. Like, I'm not comfortable with watching this, especially the comments made about transgender. I just, when someone tries to double down on something that's hateful, I'm just like, you know what? Fuck you. From when you look like a snail, fuck you, actually. So, but that particular bit was interesting to me when I was looking at the conversations happening in the mainstream media about Jake Paul and Andrew Tate, the goalpost shifting, like, no, it's not about the ones who won. And Jake Paul, they were like, yeah, but Anthony Joshua only made $60 million. Jake Paul is the real smart one. He made $120 million. Yeah, and his jaw got rocked. His jaw shifted to 90 Ross Clark degrees. It went, oh. Did you see that? It went, oh. That jaw was discombobulated. Are you crazy? You want to brock my jaw for $120 million? I'll pass. I will pass. And I'm glad. I needed Anthony Joshua to do that because I don't know what Mike Tyson was doing. And, I said this in the last episode, like, people are just willing to squander their legacy for money. But I guess that's the result of capitalism and this influencer, system that we've got going and whatever. So I'm glad that it was kind of reset. Like, because I feel like there's something racist and sinister about wanting to fight these black greats and to put them in their place somehow and ridicule them. And I feel like that, to me personally, that's what happened with Mike Tyson. And yeah, it just felt a bit yuck. So I'm glad that Anthony Joshua like really rocked. When I say rock someone's jaw, he rocked that guy's jaw. Wow. Wow. And he deserved it, because what do you mean you're going to kill a crocodile? Like, there's something so lynchy about him. Like, I don't. Oh, wasn't he the one that went in that forest, that death forest that you weren't meant to go into? He's just diabolical. He's brother, to go and kill a crocodile so they can cut it up, dye it yellow so you can have it stitched onto your boxing shorts. That I'm glad that crocodile, that the energy of the crocodile was in that boxing ring. The crocodile was also throwing back through Anthony Joshua. What do you mean? I have a wife and kids, bitch. Yes. Take that, jaw. Wow. But then I just went on his page, as in Jake Paul, and then he made this AI video, or he posted rather this AI video of him having that face-off with Anthony Joshua prior to the actual match, the boxing match. And in the AI video, Jake Paul's character, person, avatar, is facing off with Anthony Joshua, then suddenly hops up, and then then Anthony Joshua carries him, and they start kissing. They start lip-syncing. I find white American, white British men so weird, like in the sense that they get drunk and want to do weird things. They get drunk. Like, I feel like some of them are only straight when they're sober, because the moment at least 14% volume alcohol enters their system, suddenly they want to be lipsing all the men and lipsing their male friends and sucking each other's fingers. What? Because, I mean, enjoy yourself, but why that specific thing? Why are all of your jokes, you allegedly straight, why are all of your jokes this, that, and the other? And then you'll be the most homophobic ones as well. It's very freaking strange to me personally. It's weird. But I saw that AI image and I thought, that surely might offend Anthony Joshua. No, like, why would I want to carry you, lift you? And he was like, something like, yes, Big Daddy. What are you doing? Again, it feels racialized, because I've heard so many stories, countless stories of white women who date black men as well as white men, or maybe dated a black guy and then went back to dating white men or whatever. And they'll always be asked, even South Asian guys as well, if they find out that the girl that they're with has dated a black guy, they're like, yeah, so what was his dick saying? What did it look like? Because now that you've been railed through, why are you so weird? That's crazy behavior. But I know that there's an obsession with like black men's penises. It's weird. But yeah, anyway, like I said, that whole thing, but I'm really, really glad that we got to see Andrew Tate get what he deserved. And then there's something I want to say as well, because, you know, we were talking about Ty Mitchell last week and how he confronted Tommy Robinson in, where were they? I want to say Dubai. I can't remember, but they were somewhere, Sha. And he confronted Tommy Robinson about his racist or Islamophobic remarks. And I'd reposted him in my stories. And then I was following him momentarily. And then people were like, oh, but Kelechi, he's got a picture with Andrew Tate. And this is how low the bar is. Like, the bar is really in hell, because I was just like, yeah, but maybe, you know, he's got the picture with him, but it doesn't look like he's following him. Like, maybe, you know, it's just men and wanting to have pictures with other men and whatever. And I was like, why am I making excuses for a guy that I don't know? So I go back on the page, because the picture should have been enough. Don't get me wrong, because you all be like, but Kelechi, yeah, the picture should have been enough. But, you know, I left some space for ignorance, because these guys get thumped in their head for a living, right? I don't know how many brain cells are still functioning. But again, that is no excuse. I know. So anyway, I go back on the page because when I first searched, because I don't know Andrew Tate's Instagram handle. So when I first searched, I literally put in Andrew Tate. Nothing came up. I was like, see, he's not following him. Then everyone was like, top G, top G, top G. I said, wait a minute. So I go back and I type in top G and then it brings up Andrew Tate's page. I was like, immediate unfollow. Like I unfollowed Ty Mitchell immediately because this is what gets me about a lot of men. Like you understand Islamophobia, you understand racism, but somehow your brain can't go further to understand sexism and how those elements can compound, those oppressions can compound to make a specific experience for Black women and women of color. You don't seem to get that. That has to be intentional. It has to be. It's weird. You know, the same energy that you have for Andrew Tate, and Tommy Robinson is the same energy that you should have for Andrew Tate because they are both hateful. They are very hateful individuals. But we don't see that. Everyday top G, top G. I want to know his birth chart details. I won't go looking, but I'd be interested as to whether in human design, whether Andrew Tate is like a manifester, because just like Trump, they literally speak into existence who they are and everybody follows suit. And this is the energy that I want so many of us to take into 2026. Stop being rational. Be delusional. Because so many people are succeeding from delusion because reality is only like, an amalgamation of all of our thoughts. So we are told. Donald Trump is a piece of shit and he's been president twice. And I'm going to get onto more information about him shortly. Andrew Tate decides that he was a world champion kickboxer and you lot believe him. You don't question it. You don't question it. A man can tell other men anything and they'll buy it. Case in point, Stephen Bartlett. Men can really just come and tell each other anything and they'll be like, yeah. But let a woman come and say, oh, that guy's a rapist. Well, how do you know? Where's the proof? Where's the proof? What were you wearing? Why were you drinking? Why did you stay? Why didn't you shout? Like, they've got so many questions for women. Rarely do they have questions for men. What world champion kickboxer was Andrew Tate? No, he was not. He was in some low tier league. I think if I started kickboxing and going to fight people, I would be in a similar league and maybe I'd bruck up a few people. But, what I've come to understand about martial arts specifically, or just, all of this stuff generally, is that anybody can have a world championship. Literally, people start their own organizations, they start their own leagues, and then you can just enter into the league and then they will make it gain prominence because of the amount of money that they might give you for a cash prize or this. I keep saying, I can start anything right now. Right fucking now, I can start anything. I can start an award ceremony right now. I can start whatever the fuck right now. And I can start, a world championship, but I can even start a British championship. I could start a British championship pole dancing competition if I really wanted to. And the person who wins that will then be able to call themselves British champion. But against who? Because you lost the other competitions how long ago? Just a few weeks ago. But now you're British champion because of this specific competition, because of the title it has. But if they gathered all of the people together, all of the pole dancers together and said, all of you compete against each other, you might not win that one. And that's why I find this whole, he's the world champion kickboxer. Where? Somebody said, and I'm not denigrating taxi drivers, but people were like, he was just fighting a lot of out of shape taxi drivers. Taxi drivers have gotten me to from A to B many times. So I'm not even insulting you lot. I'm just telling you what I heard to help you contextualize it. And why is this so important? Because when I was dragging Tate in my stories, here come some men in my DMs. But he used to be a good kickboxer back in the day. What does that have to do with what I am saying right now? He talks about violence towards women, attacking them with a machete, punching them. And you've come to tell me, yeah, he used to be a world-class kickboxer back in the day. Did he kick you in your brain? Because why do you think that information is relevant right now? Why are you trying to humanize this monster to me right now? Men are weird. Your top G, as in Andrew Tate. Oh, top G, top G. He's manifesting this energy of top G. Your top G is a power bottom. I have enough friends. I have been on the scene for years. And I can tell you that Andrew Tate gives power bottom. Yeah? All of this top G, top G. You're not a top G. You're a power bottom. And I love it. You know, but claim it, own it. Yeah, own it. Top G where? He smokes a cigar, which is bad for your health. Topless, or he's wearing some Hugh Hefner bathrobe. And Hugh Hefner was another pedo that just got away with it because of his playboy or something. He will do that. Who is he doing it for? Because women, ideally, aren't watching as much as men. So he's getting topless for you men. You allegedly straight men. Huh? Straight presenting, straight adjacent men. You what? This is why we keep coming back to how homoerotic it is. How when you lot have this influencer guy that you'll follow on top of the hill and back. It's crazy. Jake Paul is just a racist weirdo. And the fact that even Trump, because this is what I mean about the Great White Hope, Trump had to then put out a tweet or put out his truth social bullshit about, yeah, no, you were fighting a much larger man again. It's giving, Trump wants to suck that cock. He wants to have a little bit of that chocolate lolly. Because they go, this large man, you were fighting a much larger man. Did he not know that when he chose this as his opponent? He didn't know that he was a larger man. All of you did Chris. You did Chris. He's a large man because you're trying to console him. You're all stupid because if he had won, it would be like, yes, you know, because that was the verbiage. That was the kind of story around the whole thing that, yes, Jake Paul is doing this for America. America's great. America's not. And this is the exact proof of it. America is not. You chose a black man to fight and a black man fucked you up, actually. So what now? The story isn't landing. The water ain't clean. Yeah? Let it go. Yeah, I feel like I've said enough about that anyway, but it was just very interesting to me. Well, on the subject of Trump, we obviously saw, I don't know if all of us saw, but there was a video of Nicki Minaj having a chat with Erica Kirk, and she calls she's having this chat with Erica Kirk, and then she wants to describe JD Vance, who I feel if Trump does kick the bucket by next summer, like summer 2026, then it's likely that he'll be taking over, and they're already kind of like grooming him for that. And he would need a wife or someone who's not brown. So that one will be replaced, likely with Erica Kirk. That's where everyone thinks the story is going anyway, because Erica, like, they just killed your husband. What's with these fireworks? What's with this smoky eyeshadow? She doesn't give a fuck. Damn. Erica Kirk doesn't give a fuck. All those KKKs. Anyway, so Nicki Minaj is obviously going through it, and she's decided to mugger it out, and she's trying to describe JD Vance, pay him a compliment, and then she's like, yeah, JD Vance is an assassin. And then she clocks what she said. I thought, you dumb cow, you're speaking to somebody whose husband allegedly got assassinated, and you're describing somebody in a positive way as an assassin. And Erica Kirk is like, don't worry. I know in her head she was just like, and this is why I can't stand these monkey Negro bitches. This is why I can't stand these apes. But she just smiles and she's like, I've heard it all. Because Nicki, what are you doing? What are you doing by being there in the first place? But also, what are you doing with such a statement? And then she's embarrassed, and it's like, you should be. You're an embarrassment, actually. And then she starts saying, our super handsome president, Trump. What? Are you that desperate for your husband to be allowed within a 200-meter radius of a primary school or a playground? Is that why you're doing all of this? Because it's very wild, very disgraceful and very wild. I don't even know if I can play it. Let me see. Let's see here. Let's see if it'll show up.
Role models like our handsome, dashing president. And you have amazing role models like the assassin J.D. Vance, our vice president.
Girl, what?
And when I say that,
Trust me, there's nothing new under the sun that I have not heard, so you're fine.
you have amazing.
Wow. Talk about putting your foot in it. Girl, what? What? Ooh, people are just doing anything. But apparently, I don't know if she's reactivated it now, but she deactivated her Instagram a little while back. So I don't know, she's going through things. And it's interesting that it comes at a time where they've now released more of the Epstein files. And we see that Trump is actually mentioned more in these ones than the others because they weren't releasing it properly. And also, Bill Clinton had an issue with it because he was just like, no, release it all with context. Even though I don't know how the context is going to change the fact that Bill Clinton is a terrible person. But he was like, no, things are being decontextualized. Release it all properly. Right? And I don't know if they did that, but they definitely released more files. And there was something in there that was really disconcerting. So I'm going to say ahead of time, like trigger warning, baby death, assault, all of the things. Just think of all the terrible things is coming up. So there was one article. Let me start with the article that I read, and I'll go into the rest. Trump trips a fake video and 10 possible co-conspirators. What's interesting is that the Department of Justice, they only for Trump came out and said, oh, with the files that we've released, some of these things aren't real. Some of them are fake. Why is it only with his stuff that you're trying to say that for? And if we believe that any of this were true, we would have investigated it. Yeah, you probably did. Or you've dismissed it regardless. Whatever it was, we can't believe you that you would have investigated it if it were true. You would likely sweep it under the carpet for him because that's what you do. And the person who wrote this is called Kayla Epstein. I'm reading it from the BBC website. It says here, the US Department of Justice, DOJ, released its latest and largest stack of files on Jeffrey Epstein on Tuesday. The 11,000 plus documents continue a stream of released information that began on Friday. The deadline mandated in a law that required the department to publicly release all of its investigative files into the late convicted sex offender. Many of the documents released on Tuesday were redacted with names and information blacked out, although people jumped on Adobe Acrobat and they said you can actually move the black squares, rectangles off, and you can see everything because they didn't redact it properly. That tells you the state of what we are dealing with. Anyway, the new, The new law specifically states that redactions can only be done to protect the identity of victims or active criminal investigations. But people are complaining about the fact, well, somebody wrote in and complained, not to me, they wrote and complained to the DOJ saying that you redacted the names of the perpetrators, but in a lot of the cases and left the names of the victims, myself included, as in her, I thought, can you see the state of it? Because they want you to know who to go and attack. And then there's no proof. US President Donald Trump's name appeared more in these new documents than in previous releases. Many were media clippings that mention him, but one notable email from a federal prosecutor indicated that Trump flew on Epstein's jet. The DOJ has said that some files contain untrue and sensationalist claims about Trump. Being mentioned in the Epstein files does not indicate wrongdoing. The BBC has requested comment from individuals named in our reporting. Emails between A and Maxwell about girls. On the thousands of pages included in its latest release on one 2001 email sent by a person identified as A stands out. A, for the girls who don't get it, is likely Andrew, as in Prince Andrew. Stay with me now. The message to Epstein's accomplice and close associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, says that A is at Balmoral summer camp for the royal family. Who else has access to Balmoral? That would be emailing Ghislaine Maxwell. Okay, absolutely. Stick with it. A then asks Maxwell, who was sentenced to 20 years in prison in 2022 for sex trafficking of minors and other offenses, have you found me some new inappropriate friends? Knowing that she traffics children. A says, have you found me some new inappropriate friends? And this is the same motherfucker that said, oh, I don't know those girlies. I don't even chat to Epstein like that. I don't know a thing. I ain't seen nothing. I ain't said nothing. I ain't heard nothing. But here we are. You are actively seeking out. Because what would be inappropriate about them, Andy? Andy, what would be inappropriate about these new friends that you're looking for? Right? And this was in 2001. Huh? And I feel that because by the time the news gets to us as the general civilians, the news is old. This is part of the reason why they stripped him of his titles, because you can't deny this. And I feel like more is still coming. He can't deny this. That was you. That was your email. It's very easy for that to be proven to be your email that you sent to Ghislaine Maxwell. So they had to strip him of his titles. He should go to jail. In another email sent later that day, Maxwell writes back, so sorry to disappoint you. However, the truth must be told. I have only been able to find appropriate friends. So adults over a particular age, but he wants the young uns. In another email sent later that day, the A email was sent from the address abx17@dial.pipex.com with the sender's name shown as the Invisible Man. Honey, you are visible now. We can see you. We can see you. Peek-a-pedo. An image from a prior Epstein files release showed a different but similar email, aace@dial.pipex.com, listed in Epstein's phone book under a contact titled Duke of York. Well, another exchange in the new files between Maxwell and the Invisible Man discusses a trip to Peru. In October, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor lost use of his Duke of York title following scrutiny over his links with Epstein. He has repeatedly denied all wrongdoing and said he did not see, witness, or suspect any behavior of the sort that subsequently led to Epstein's arrest and conviction. The BBC has contacted his team for a response. You know what? Lil Miss Epstein, Kayla Epstein, you wrote the fuck out of that article. She kept it legally to the line. I'm not going to say that it's Andrew, but here are some things. Here you go. This is what we are legally allowed to say because of editorial policy. Here you go. Andy isn't being flogged enough. The grand old Duke of Nonce, ooh, more has to be coming from you. But before we even focus on him, let's go to this document. This is the document that is unclassified, Federal Bureau of Investigations intake. It says here, Epstein, Jeffrey, child sex trafficking. This is from the 8th of March, 2020. That's when it was received at 6:01 p.m. Eastern time, wherever that is. Eastern Daylight Time, that's it. They blocked out the email address. They blocked out all of the bits. They blocked out the IP address, but now we know that all of this can actually just be shown. It says here, threat to life, false. Submitted text. I previously provided a tip about 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, under an alias I have for myself. All the other details of the previous tip match all the information given in today's tip, except I am giving my real name. A detective from NYPD FBI Sex Trafficking Task Force called me a couple of weeks ago from a 212 code number. I talked to him for about 20 or 30 minutes about my being sex trafficked by my uncle and Jeffrey Epstein in 1984 while I was 13 and pregnant. I told him some other important information about other high-profile individuals involved in my sex trafficking and the murder and disposal of my newborn daughter because I gave birth to her while in the middle of this sex trafficking ordeal. I cannot remember the detective's name, nor do I have a number where I can contact him. I would like to have his name and contact information, and I would also like to know if there will be any further follow-up. Other violation questions. What was the exact crime that occurred? Child sex trafficking and infanticide. When did the crime/incident occur? Please provide an approximate date and time, May to September 1984. Where did the crime/incident occur? Please provide the specific location/address if possible, mostly from a yacht in Lake Michigan, originating from Mona Lake, MI, Michigan. Complaint information, they put all of their details, and then they write, they say additional info. I'm just wanting to reconnect with the original detective that called me, and I offered information about this. How is contact known? He was orchestrating a deal along with my uncle where different men and few women and girls would come to a variety of boats and yachts and pay money to force me to do with them when I was 13 and pregnant. Witness information, first name Donald Trump, age 70, info. Again, just trying to find out the NYPD detective on the FBI sex trafficking task force that called me a couple of weeks ago and spoke to me about some of these issues. He participated regularly in paying money to force me to with him, and he was present when my uncle murdered my newborn child and disposed of the body in Lake Michigan. That is pretty much it. That's what I wanted to read. So I wouldn't be surprised if when that officer got all of that information, they tried to bury it. Like they didn't pass it on, or they did pass it on and they were told, yeah, we're not pursuing this, because what did they do with this information? Did they go and check? From what we are hearing then, Trump was having sex with a 13-year-old girl, pregnant 13-year-old girl, who impregnated her. He's also a likely person. Maybe, if all of this is true, because we have to say that legally. But me, look into my eyes. Okay, then. So then there's this 13-year-old girl that's been assaulted because her uncle is the one that's doing all of the things. And then she has this baby. Now, if the baby can be linked to him, then there's proof that he was sleeping with a 13-year-old girl. So they have to kill the baby. If she's wrong, go check Lake Michigan. I know it's massive. Do something. Find her uncle. Do something. She provided all her details and they just aired the thing until it was unclassified and shared with everybody, only for the DOJ to be like, no, not some of the things in there are just sensationalist. They couldn't possibly be true. What? We had a recording of the man saying that when you have power, when you are famous like this, you can just grab them by the pussy. And he became president. He literally was recorded saying that he assaults women and he became president. Like, why do we need more files? The way that people were storming up the place 6th of Jan, 6th of Jan is round the corner if you want to storm again about this specific issue and deal with the guy that essentially riled you lot up to go and do the thing the first time. Like, people will really talk about immigrations, these immigrants, we've got to protect our women and children. He's sleeping with the children and then he's killing the babies of the children. This is the man that you lot are listening to, you fucking weirdos. Trump is a pedophilic bitch. I don't know how else to tell you lot. And I'm sorry, there are some of our Black icons who were also on Epstein's yacht, like literally pictures taken, and little girls are in the background. What are little girls doing on a yacht with you and you're there as well? Some of our Black icons have questions to answer. Anyway, I just felt to share that because, oof, that blew my mind. And then I was reading about this temple that Epstein has on his island. But then all of it really just made me think about the fact that when I wrote Awakened, my debut novel, without giving it away, there is a secret society that harvests the souls of children in order to keep power, to acquire and to maintain power. And I put specific characters in there for a reason. And it's interesting to see how these characters are playing out in the modern sense. I go on, I write things and then I see them happen. I need to go and write that I have 2.5 million pounds because let that come true, actually. It's scary. But I knew I wasn't off, and I knew that the publisher felt a bit awkward, like, oh, this is what you've written. Yes, this is what I've written, because you're going to see that I'm right. And then now look. And I feel like that temple on Epstein's island, because why is it there? He's like, oh, it's a gym and a music room. Okay, what's underneath it? Same with my story. The thing isn't above the ground. It's down. It's down. Why? What's there? How many children have just not been found? Because when him and Ghislaine would approach some of these girls, they're approaching you hoping that definitely there's no father in the home, because a switched on father will spot a predator. So, if it's just your mum's probably working a lot trying to provide for you. Oop, yep, you're ripe for the taking. You've got no parents? Perfect. How many girls have actually gone missing? Never to be found. I would be interested to know. And when they go onto the island, Epstein's island, do all of them leave? Who knows? There's so much at play here. And I feel that that's it. Because if there was a point where he went, as in Andrew, went onto that island and a girl went missing at the time, jail will be too cute for you. Let's go. Okay. So I thought that it was just Epstein's island that Andrew, formerly known as Prince Andrew, was acquainted with. But the reason that the US lot are looking for him, I'm just reading this from the Canadian press people. The FBI and US attorney for the Southern District of New York sought an interview with ex-Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor for connections to Canadian sex offender and fashion mogul Peter Nygard, or is it Nygard? I don't know. The revelation comes in the latest batch of documents released by the US Department of Justice related to Jeffrey Epstein. An April 2020 letter from American authorities officially requested assistance from their UK counterparts in securing an interview with the former prince. The letter says that evidence exists linking Mountbatten Windsor to both Epstein and Nygard, because if I say Nygard, it sounds bad, and Nygaard in 2 separate sex trafficking investigations. The US letter said that investigations found at least one occasion where Mountbatten Windsor traveled to Nygaard Cay in the Cayman Islands. This is the location where Nygaard is alleged to have trafficked adult women and minor girls from the United States. Nygaard was first arrested in Winnipeg in December 2020 under the Extradition Act after he was charged in New York with 9 counts, including sex trafficking and racketeering. These American charges have not been tested in court, and Nygaard denied all allegations against him. So he's another one with an island. These people don't just get islands, is another thing that we need to understand. These white billionaires don't just get islands. They get it to do very, very wild, nasty, depraved things. Bill Gates, this Nygaard, then Epstein, amongst probably others. What? Anyway. So he went to the Nygaard's estate in the Bahamas, and other information he might have about Nygaard and related individuals. The letter noted that the former prince was not the target of any investigation at the time, and there was no evidence he had committed any crime under US law. The letter indicated Mountbatten Windsor may have been asked to testify in either the Nygaard or Epstein case if he shared relevant information during any interview. The US authorities included a list of questions they wanted their UK counterparts to ask in the event that they had to conduct a voluntary or compelled interview with Mountbatten Windsor. These questions include dates he met with either Epstein or Nygaard, travel to either man's properties, and women he met through either of them. Nygaard's history of sexual assault allegations has also spread through Canadian courtrooms in recent years. The disgraced fashion mogul, now 84, was convicted on 4 counts of sexual assault in a Toronto court last year. He was sentenced to 11 years in prison, but is expected to serve just under 7 years with credit for time served before his conviction. Justice Robert Goldstein described Nygaard as a sexual predator who used his wealth and influence to lure victims to his company headquarters, where he assaulted them, using his power to keep them too afraid to come forward. Nygaard has previously indicated plans to seek an appeal for both his conviction and sentence. Nygaard had a preliminary hearing in Montreal earlier this year on another sexual assault and forcible confinement charge, so he was kidnapping the girlies. He again denied the allegations. The Canadian press has reached out to Nygaard's lawyer for an update on any legal proceedings. Sexual assault charges in Winnipeg against Nygaard were stayed in October after it was revealed that records of police interviews with the complainant in 1993 were destroyed without justifiable reasons, violating Nygaard's right to a fair trial. King Charles stripped his brother of his remaining royal titles due to his ties to Epstein. But it's not just his ties to Epstein, because if you have one friend that's a pedophile, that's a mistake. If you have 2 friends that are pedophiles, that's a choice. And one can assume that's a community. A nest of nonces is what we have. Because you just happen to know these very prolific people traffickers, these child traffickers for sexual abuse. You just happen to know too. Oh, baby. Pack him up. I'll be surprised. Like, I feel like this podcast will unknowingly or maybe knowingly end up covering the entire timeline until Andrew ends up in jail or dead. One of them is going to happen whilst this podcast is live, you know. But let's get to the front pages. No, before we get to the front pages, you sent me, I have to go. I'm trying to make my way through the letters, so I am way behind. But this is what you sent in for your front. That was what all of my news that I wanted to share that I've seen There you go. Also, fuck Donald Trump is another thing that I'm going to say, because as I scan the front pages of today's newspapers, I don't see it mentioned anywhere that he bombed Nigeria on Christmas Day, the north of Nigeria. Fuck you, you oil-mongering, warmongering bitch. The things I want to call you, somebody will now write me an essay about, Kelechi, you really shouldn't be using that language. Fuck Donald Trump is really all I want to say. And you idiots that were loving him before, because we need to have an in-depth conversation about how our countries, I'll also roll in maybe the Caribbean in there, why we are so conservative leaning. Like, we see all of our struggles and then we go, oh, that right-wing person, absolutely love them. Yep, that's my flavor. How? Why? Because they were loving Trump before. Because I guess we have been indoctrinated throughout the generations, the last few generations, with capitalism and colonialism. So it's just like, oh yeah, that just looks so nice to me. I don't know why. Because they've conditioned us to like it. Pardon me. And then you get the youth who are just like, no, this is wrong. Hate this. And they're being silenced by the corrupt government. And the governments are corrupt everywhere, from what we can see, in lots of places anyway. But here we go. Hi, Kelechi. My name is, and I subscribe to your YouTube page. My handle is, and I watch your front page fuckery episodes, which I love. I followed you on IG for years until I deleted IG in early 2024. Oh, I'll be joining you soon. And I purchased your book, Edge of Here, last year too. Thank you. I haven't read it yet. Ooh, last year was a shit show. And then this year I was diagnosed with cancer. Oh, bab. And laid off from my job. Part of the 300,000 black women who lost their jobs in this trash ass economy and country. But it's on my shelf waiting to be read. Take your time, baby girl. I believe in supporting black women throughout the diaspora, however I can, and I really believe in the work that you do. I hope to join your members section soon. I loved everything you said about Burna Boy, bitch. I have fallen asleep at shows in the past, maybe not full-on concerts, not because I was bored, but because life can be fucking hard. And sometimes when you feel safe or comforted, maybe at a concert, listening to your favorite music, or in a setting with like-minded people, you might get so comfortable from escaping everyday life for those 2 hours that you fall asleep. For that fucker to take such offense to the point of embarrassing her like that, even though he got paid, shows his weakness and how he and his team continue to center his fragile ass ego. Also, 100% agree, RE men, especially men visiting Thailand. I am part Asian, Japanese. And while Thailand is a case within itself, when it comes to all the things that you spoke about, I can tell you firsthand the way white people fetishize Asian boys, girls, and women. I was born and raised in Hawaii, where it runs rampant underground. I know it's the same in England, Europe, everywhere. Fucking gross. I'm always so interested in your perspectives about things in general. You kind of represent this other side of Black history. I'm a historian and genealogy researcher. Guan. And blackness that has black people in America in general, and in my opinion, we don't pay enough attention to. We have been so programmed to be so hyper-focused and hypersensitive of our own experiences as Black Americans that we never learn that we aren't the only ones. Imagine that. And when we finally do, we somehow reject it as peripheral information, not pertinent to our own histories. We barely learn our own history. I now live in a state that ranks the lowest in the nation for 4th grade reading test scores, predominantly white Oregon. Surprise, surprise. If you can't tell how exhausted I am, LOL. So I thank you for continuing to put yourself out there so people like me can see past the noise in the US. It takes a lot of courage, Kelechi, and I really appreciate you. Thank you. That was lovely. I thought I'd pick that one out. I saw like the first bit about Burna Boy and I was like, absolutely. Even though that was a few episodes ago that you wrote in, I said, let me read it now. Anyway, let's get to the front pages. So I've just got one sort of decent and I've got 2 trash. So I've got the Times, the Daily Mail, and I've got the Guardian. Let's start with the absolute trash, which would be the Daily Mail, aka the Daily Fail. Friday, 26th of December, 2025. The royals at Christmas. Andrew's girls opt for the firm over mum and dad. Of course they would, because you and Fergie are diabolical, baby. Andrew in Windsor. Eugenie and Beatrice at Sandringham. They're not playing. They're like, we still have our titles, honey. Bye. But why are they going to fuck up their bag? To be around their nonce of a father, and who knows what they've seen. Gosh. Yes, go be with the other ones. Labour has been accused of sounding a £1 billion death knell to the high street, with shoppers expected to shun today's Boxing Day sales. What even are Boxing Day sales anymore? Remember back in the day where our parents would go and queue outside Next on Boxing Day to get the deals? Now they'll be like, oh my God, sale. And it's like £3 off. Fuck off. Struggling retailers will lose out on the much needed revenue as consumer confidence collapses amid Rachel Reeves's tax bombshells. It's not necessary. I feel like, again, it's crazy when we write things like this, because it's not just Rachel Reeves and her Zionist self-proclaimed Zionist, FYI. It's the fact that, I don't know, the world is burning. Capitalism is crumbling. We're at a late stage capitalism. People can buy so many things online. People don't want to be outside like that. Lots of people are inside their homes. They're away. They're moving away. People are dying, Kim. You know, like, they just can't be asked. So beyond Rachel Reeves's fuckery, people literally just can't be asked because they can see everything that's happening around them. And some of them might even be on the BDS list as well. Figures from Barclays show that 26% of Britons are expected to hunt for bargains today, down from 28% in 2024, as Labour's cash grabs begin to bite. The bank predicts the country's ailing high streets will net £3.6 billion from Boxing Day shoppers, £1 billion less than last year. Oh, boo-hoo. Like, who cares? Also is the thing. And also the real estate is mad. You can't be expecting everyday people to front or to foot the bill from what you're charging for these people to have the stores that they have. It's crazy. The drop in high street footfall is due to stretched household budgets, with 69% of people saying cost pressures will impact their spending this year, up from 47% in 2024. The Conservatives and Reform UK blamed Labour for presiding over a flatlining economy and collapsing consumer confidence. Shadow Business Secretary Andrew Griffiths said, under Labour, Christmas has been reduced to a time for stocking up on discounted essentials rather than celebrating with family and friends. With the government presiding over a flatlining economy and collapsing consumer confidence, shoppers are tightening their belts and retailers are paying the price. I don't know about that. And also people are spending money on weight loss injections as well. So they don't need you lot like that in the same way anymore. Reeves's £1 billion Boxing Day sales slump. Retailers set to take devastating hit over flatlining economy and collapsing consumer confidence. Oh, well. Sad for ya. Then we've got the Times. The Times says, 2 men missing after Christmas swim in perilous waves. A search was called off last night for 2 men who went missing in choppy waters during a Christmas Day morning swim in Devon. Emergency services had to pull several other swimmers from the sea at Budley Salterton Beach after they got into difficulty in the cold water. The ambulance service confirmed that 1 person had been taken to hospital and 2 others had been checked by paramedics at the beach. A helicopter was deployed to look for the 2 missing men, one aged in his 40s and the other in his 60s, alongside lifeboats from Exmouth, Teignmouth and Torbay, as well as the police and the ambulance service. At about 6 p.m. last night, the Coast Guard announced that the search would be paused. Searches have continued throughout the day to find 2 men believed to still be in the water it said. After extensive shoreline and offshore searches, the Coast Guard part of the search was stood down at 5 p.m. The annual Christmas Day swim at the beach is popular and is normally attended by about 100 people, often in fancy dress, according to residents. However, this year's event took place during a yellow weather warning by the Met Office for strong and gusty winds of up to 65 miles per hour, which would cause large waves. As a result, many organisers of Christmas Day swims along the Cornish and Devon coast cancelled their events. The Cove Rack swim in Cornwall was postponed for the first time in 57 years. A witness who was on the beach at Budley Salterton about 30 minutes after the emergency services were called said the water looked very dangerous with big swell and big winds. Child, if I speak, you're going to say that I'm insensitive. So I'm just going to keep quiet, because the thing is, there was a warning. It was yellow. Everybody else cancelled the thing. What were you doing in the water? Probably you now say it's victim blaming. I don't know, but no, let me not. Hope they find them. Anyway, thousands more homes to be hit by mansion tax. Experts fear valuations overshooting by £30,000. Tens of thousands of homeowners face being unfairly dragged into paying Rachel Reeves's new mansion tax. Wow, all of them are going for... She's going to need to resign, because the girlies at the newspapers are not feeling her. They do not like her. Damn. Tens of thousands of homeowners face being unfairly dragged into paying Rachel Reeves's new mansion tax because of how the value of homes will be assessed. Experts warn that properties could be overvalued by as much as £30,000, leading to homeowners being subject to an annual surcharge starting at £2,500 as part of the plans being drawn up to target homes worth more than £2 million. The revaluation, the biggest in more than 30 years, will not involve any large-scale physical assessment of properties. Instead, it will rely on sales data, aerial maps, and past planning applications to provide a valuation. Desktop evaluations had a tendency to overvalue properties because of the mathematical average it uses. Experts said, but were favoured as they could be produced at the touch of a button, but that's ridiculous. This has led to concerns that the entire process will become bogged down in mass appeals as homeowners attempt to avoid the new surcharge. The Treasury has said that a £2 million home will cost as much as £50,000 in value, will lose as much as £50,000 in value because of the new tax. Paula Higgins, the chief executive of the Homeowners Alliance, the advice body, said, it's going to be a nightmare. Desktop valuations might be adequate for properties on terraced streets with a high volume of recent sales. However, when considering properties priced at £2 million plus in areas like Hampstead or Highgate, some of which may not have been sold in 30 years, each house is unique and requires a more individualized assessment. The assessment is set to use a version of the Valuation Office Agency automated valuation model, a tool that analyzes location, property attributes, and recent sales figures. The new surcharge and the revaluation method will be consulted on in the new year. The review forms part of the Treasury's plans for a tax on high-value homes. Under the plans, homes worth more than £2 million will pay a council tax surcharge from 2028. It will be split into 4 bands based on a property's value. Owners of homes valued at between £2 million and £2.5 million will pay an annual surcharge of £2,500, rising to £7,500 a year for homes worth more than £5 million. The surcharge will not be determined by existing council tax bands, which are based on property values from 1991. Instead, the VOA, which is being absorbed into HMRC next year, will carry out a separate targeted valuation exercise to determine a property's value in 2026. The equivalent open data source for house prices is the Office for National Statistics, ONS, House Price Index, HPI, which is used to train the VOA's in-house valuation tool. I don't care about all of this. Maybe I'll care when I actually have a house that's worth £2 million or £5 million. But what I need to say is that valuation bullshit that they use, I need to adhere to it because of business rates. And I can tell you that it's fucking bullshit. It's a piece of shit system that overprices things and has you paying through your fucking nostril for no fucking reason. Everything that we are having to use in order to navigate our businesses, in order to run our homes, it's been provided by people who are on coke. They are on cocaine. They are not thinking straight. They are drunk and they are high. They are not thinking straight because none of these things make sense. But because nobody wants to put anybody's business out on Front Street, that makes no fucking sense. Everybody goes along with it. And it's the everyday person that has to suffer for it. It is stupid. The valuation agency stuff is fucking stupid. Anyway, King backs a detox to end Gadget's reign of tyranny. Kate Middleton's veneers are rather nice. I'll give her that. The Princess of Wales greets well-wishers, some of whom had camped overnight outside Sandringham Church before the before the traditional Christmas morning service. They didn't have anything better to do. You're camping out in the cold to see the royals. Are you crazy? Anyway, the king suggested that we could all benefit from a digital detox to allow our souls to renew. You don't have a soul, so what are you renewing? And also, you only want us to come off the internet so we don't see the things about your brother, your nonce of a brother. No, let's all stay online, actually. Let us lose our souls, but let us see what they're saying about your brother online. Because if it wasn't for the online world, the digital world, the news wouldn't have spread as far as it did. What's he saying here? As he delivered the fourth Christmas message of his reign, probably only going to last 6, Charles also spoke of the values treasured by all great faiths, praising resilience in the face of adversity, peace through forgiveness, simply getting to know our neighbors, and by showing respect to one another, creating new friendships. What the fuck? In what is understood to be a call for people across Britain and the Commonwealth to step back from the distractions of the digital age, the king said, as our world seems to spin ever faster, our journeying may pause to quieten our minds. In T.S. Eliot's words, at the still point of the turning world and allow our souls to renew. An aide of the king said he has in mind the effect that new technologies can have on society and how they can impact both on community cohesion and on general well-being, especially for younger people. I think His Majesty hopes that Christmas might afford a moment when people could experiment with something like a digital detox to focus more on our friendships, our families, and our faith for those who practice. In this way, the king hopes our minds may find greater peace, our souls can renew, and our communities grow stronger. But see, we're not the ones that need to take a digital detox. Your brother was using digital things to ask about whether Ghislaine Maxwell could provide him with inappropriate friends. If anybody needs to take a digital detox to renew their soul, it's your nonce of a brother. Don't tell the rest of us what to do, ho. Consciously avoiding any direct reference to concerns within his own family this year, it is understood that Charles wanted the speech to look outward rather than inward. Omo, look inward. Look, the call is coming from inside the house, soon to specifically be Sandringham. Look inside your house. Didn't I hear the other day that the police have confiscated all of Andrew's guns? Yeah, because you're not going to take any easy way out. Yeah? You've got a turkey bone, you've got a cyanide. Choose. Guns? No. He touched upon the universal themes of good and evil. Yes, your family mainly being the evil, while referencing division both at home and abroad. And the need to what, child? Andrew's daughters walk tall in United Front. Okay. Right. All of them out at Sandringham. I know that the things that they wear cost a lot of money, but my God, they're ugly. Surrey police will ask the FBI for more information about allegations of abuse at paedophile ring parties attended by Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and Ghislaine Maxwell. Oh, here we go. So he said, and the need to reconnect at Christmas with the great diversity of our communities, we can find the strength to ensure that right triumphs over wrong. But you're asking wrong to move into your house. You're taking away his 30-room mansion, but the wrong is in your family. The wrong-un is with you. Viewers watching on television saw the King's message interspersed with footage of this year's 80th anniversary commemorations for VE Day and VJ Day. Charles said that it was impossible not to be deeply moved by the ages of the fallen, as the gravestones in our war cemeteries remind us. So they're basically gearing everybody up for war because that's what they've been putting their money towards. Yeah, exactly. Charles also alluded to wars still being waged. The choir for this year's message was the Songs for Ukraine chorus, with solos from the sopranos, Arina Koroletska, who is studying at the Odessa National Music Academy, and Ola Terletska, a professional opera singer who moved to Britain in 2022 after the invasion. They performed the Carol of the Bells, which is based on a song by Mykola Leonotovich, a Ukrainian composer. This year's message was recorded in the Lady Chapel at Westminster Abbey, long seen as a site of pilgrimage as the resting place of Edward the Confessor and the only English king to have been canonized by the Catholic Church. Charles spoke of his recent state visit to the Vatican, where he prayed with the Pope in a historic moment of spiritual unity, in which they celebrated the theme of the Roman Catholic Jubilee year, Pilgrims of Hope. Charles, 77, said, "Pilgrimage is a word less used today, but it has particular significance for our modern world, and especially at Christmas. It's about journeying forward into the future whilst also journeying back to remember the past and learn from its lesson." Just say Sankofa, ho. But you lot haven't learned anything, but you're about to learn. You're going to learn today. Then we've got The Guardian. Ooh. Let's see here. Experts criticize lost decade of progress on rights for parents. Experts have criticized a lost decade of progress on parental rights after Guardian research suggested that fewer than 1 in 60 public sector workers are sharing leave with their partners when they have a baby. 10 years after the introduction of shared parental leave in the UK, the policy's architect said it had failed to deliver on its promise of culture change and called for measures to allow more men to spend time with their babies. New data obtained by The Guardian reveals that in the past 5 years, just 1 in every 64 requests for parental leave in 4 of the UK's biggest public sector employers were for shared parental leave, which gives parents the right to split up to 52 weeks of leave, including up to 39 weeks of statutory shared parental pay. Freedom of information requests made by The Guardian show only 1.55% of parental leave requests made at those employers in the last 5 years were for shared parental leave, from 274,755 requests for parental leave across NHS England, Scotland and Wales, HMRC, the Ministry of Justice and the Department of Work and Pensions between 2020 and 2025, only 4,264 were for shared parental leave. Jo Swinson, the former Liberal Democrats leader who introduced the 2015 policy in the Commons when she was the Minister for Employment Relations, said low take-up of SPL in public bodies was disappointing and blamed successive Tory governments. It's definitely a policy that hasn't achieved its potential, partly because it hasn't had the backing, energy, encouragement of a government that believed in it, she said. Okay, I don't know what to say about that. One's in the Sun. King Charles and Queen Camilla attend a church service at Sandringham. The King used his Christmas message to call for compassion and healing. call for compassion, call for healing for your brother. Dead to me, Russia's idea of rebirth rings hollow in Mariupol. The Mariupol Drama Theatre, destroyed in a Russian airstrike in 2022 when hundreds of civilians were sheltering in its basement, has reopened its doors, with Russian occupation authorities heralding the reconstruction as a sign of renewal. Former actors at the theatre, however, denounced the reopening as dancing on bones. The Kremlin has made the reconstruction of Mariupol a calling card of its rule in occupied Ukraine. Ooh. Planners say new towns lack ambition. Senior planners who were involved in building Britain's post-Second World War new towns have raised concerns about the government's 21st century new towns programme, criticising a lack of ambition and weak commitment to social housing. Lee Shostak, a former director of planning at Milton Keynes Development Corporation in the 1970s and later a chair of the Town and Country Planning Association, said the current plan for the new towns may not actually help people who need homes the most. He said that while Milton Keynes had been designed to ease the housing burden in London with a large stock of council homes, there was a risk Labour's new towns would not alleviate social housing waiting lists in big cities. There's talk about 40% of the homes as affordable housing, most of which will not be social housing, and there's no indication whatsoever those homes will be available for people moving from London or other urban areas, says Shostak. But we've been knowing that. They just use terms. They just throw around terms and nothing makes any freaking sense anyway. It's just nonsense. But eventually they're going to see we're going to have a real issue going forward. Why does Fairy Liquid have the back page or the very back of two of the newspapers that I bought? That's interesting. What's this about Formula One? Ratcliffe Revolution, an F1 data guru, a big change in the corridors of power, and yes, cutting free lunches have put United back on track. Here's what to expect from year 3 of the Ratcliffe Revolution. I don't know too much about that. I haven't been following the foot of the ball. Well, anyway, I would say that that's it for this week's episode. I've gone through all of the news that I have for you. Feel free to share your news with me. You can send your email to sym@kelechiokafor.com. As you can see, all my tarot bits, some of my tarot bits are behind me. If you want to have a tarot reading for whatever fucking reason, I love doing them as I settle into my new space. And yeah, I feel like we'll catch up before New Year's. But if we don't, I guess I'll see you on the other side. Not that other side. Not that other side. The only person that's probably going there soon is Andrew. But I don't know. Yes, I hope that you're well. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Looking forward to your comments and your bits. Make sure to take care of yourselves and just take it easy, because I feel like there's more craziness to come through the news in 2026. But I guess we'll deal with all of that one page at a time. So I've been Kelechi Okafor, and this has been Front Page Fuckery, turning bad news into good conversation. Yeah, I'll catch you on the other side of the news. Bless.
Oh, have you heard the news? It's probably been twisted to keep the general population conflicted. Better lick your finger and turn the page. Dissect the lines that made you to rage. Get out of your Monday drudgery. Turn up the volume on Front Page Fuckery.